The 2-2 Eagles, do they stink? Is there hope? We'll talk about it coming up on the PHLY Eagles podcast. Bo Wulf and Zach Berman, who is fresh from his Tampa Bachelor weekend. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles podcast presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. A little Studio A surprise on a Monday. Bo Wulf, Zach Berman. Unknowingly, we have matched in our outfits today, and so you know that means it's going to be a good day. How you doing, Zach? How are your travels?
Doing well. Early morning this morning. 4:45, but
I missed the Studio A posture. Your
Yeah.
Studio A posture. I had forgotten all about it. It's nice to see it again.
Yeah, it's great to see you. Great to be in studio. This is our first Monday, day after show of the season. Because last week travel was an issue. The week before was a Monday night game. The week before was a Friday night game. So this is our first Monday, day after. What a way to celebrate it,
The
right?
wounds are fresh.
But yeah, I spent time going through the game as quick as I could. I listened to the pod from yesterday. Great show you guys did. And prepared some stuff to ask Nick Sirianni. I'm not going to be able to do that because the Eagles changed the time again.
If anybody watching is wondering why the anxiety is dripping off of your face, you're missing the Sirianni press conference.
I mean, I had like an easier time nailing down like times for dates in college than I did like any Eagles press conference. It bounces week to week, day to day, right?
Oh, Mr. Syracuse Lothario, he's nailing down all these dates.
No, that was supposed to be self-deprecating. It's like that I was picking something that was hard to do, right? And then the time got changed again. So all
it took was an ugly loss in Tampa Bay, a 2-2 record heading into the bye week for our old friend HZ to show up.
No, nothing
on
like
a
that.
Monday.
Nothing like that. But point is, if there are updates from Nick Sirianni, our other beat
what would you
reporters-
ask him? What would be your question? So let's get it out there.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, in case the fellow beat writers are watching this right now.
Yeah, or in case Nick is watching it right now.
In case Nick's watching it right now. What's up, Nick? I have a lot I want to ask you. So there's a few things, but really, I mean, I want to harp on the slow starts on games. And to be the only team in the NFL that has not scored a point in the first quarter, I think is
I think bad's a fair way to describe it. Yeah.
But I think that's a major part of the play for the offense and for the team because they're playing from behind. I had a stat in my story on allphly.com. They played from behind. Like if you look at the total clock time, 29th in the NFL in terms of playing from behind.
Interesting. That's a good number.
So that's problematic. And you look at yesterday's game specifically, 3 and out. So there's a few things here. What's Kellen Moore's approach with an opening script? What are they trying? In the opening script, is it a matter of trying to see what the defense's looks are? Is it like the plays? Is it certain money plays? Is it certain down and is it certain situations? But this has been a problem It's been a problem throughout the season, and it's been something that they need to fix because when they're at their best. I said this on the show yesterday. It's something you talk to like longtime Eagles. They reference this. The best teams they have jumped early. They're built to be front runners. Jump to leads. Then you have this offensive line that can control the line of scrimmage thereafter. You can run the ball in the second half of games. And you have these pass rushers in theory who can pin their ears back. That's the expression you always hear. they're not a team.
This is like the Joe Banner template.
Exactly. And Howie learned this from Joe, and it's really Andy Reid as well, right? And so I don't think the way this team's constructed, they're as good playing from behind, because I think Jalen's a different quarterback in those situations. I think he forces more things. You know, the term Jamie used on the show is hero ball. However you want to frame it, I think Jalen doesn't play as well when he's from behind. Now, someone could look at this and say, look at his game-winning drives. I get that, and it's different. You know, I don't consider playing from behind, you know, one drive to win the game. I consider it more like you're constantly chasing the score. And certainly in yesterday's game, they were doing that, and it was a major problem. So that's one thing I would want to ask Nick.
Well, and part of the curiosity about that is the continuing fascination about, you know, what Nick Sirianni's role is in all things, and especially in the offense. And it would stand to reason, presumably, that the thing that he is probably most involved in terms of like the offensive play calling is the script that they put together during the week, right?
Sure.
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, I was hesitant there because everything I hear is that they really do like respect, or this really is Kellen Moore's offense. Like Kellen Moore's putting the game plans together.
Nick's just telling them to make a right turn when the light is yellow. Like,
I think from kind of my understanding is that there was like a little too much made out of the play last week, that I think Nick was trying to like be like after a win, like the fall on the sword guy. And this doesn't happen like that frequently. But certainly,
that's why it would make sense. I mean, he's in the offensive game plan meetings.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Like,
yes.
And his voice carries weight.
Yeah. He's not surprised on Sunday by what they're calling.
Right.
Yeah,
and so that is the thing that you would think that he is most involved in.
Exactly. Yeah. And that they go into a game feeling excited about this, feeling comfortable about this. Sure. And so I understand that their pushback to me on this question could be, well, the first play, I mean, Saquon was open downfield. First off, I don't think that was the design of the play. You know, that was just kind of, you know, Jalen extended it, Saquon leaked behind. I don't think the play was designed to go 75 yards to Saquon Barkley or whatever it was. And then the first down, the next play, the first down, the next drive, Dallas Goedert dropped it. It was a well-designed play. I think you run out of times when you can say that, well, the play worked. It just didn't actually work, right? So that's where you have to look at what the results are and what it sets up to. And I'm not a run the ball on first down guy, but I did think yesterday's game in particular, they couldn't afford to play behind the sticks, and invariably they were playing behind the sticks. I think it was 3rd and 10, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 11, right, or thereabouts during those first three drives.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that with the offensive weapons they had yesterday, to be down 14-0 by the time they got the ball a second time, obviously not ideal. And I think it was a surprise that they didn't lean a little bit more heavily into Saquon early. But from a Jalen perspective, I can't stop thinking about that first play of the game.
Yeah.
Like, that was the most important play to me because Saquon's open. That is a touchdown. Put the ball out there, and he just throws it away. It was bizarre. I'm sorry. You're paying the quarterback this money. He's supposed to be a franchise quarterback. Make that throw.
Yeah, and I asked Jalen about this after the game. Like I specifically said, and I framed it.
What are we doing?
I thought it was important for me to frame it this way. I said, I know it's easy for me to ask this from this side of, I said the podium, the lectern, really. From this side of the lectern.
Good correction. That's important.
Yeah, from this side of the lectern. But do you think you should have hit Saquon on that first play? And he admitted, there was a play to be made. He threw it away. I don't know why he threw it away there.
Well, it's weird for him to say he threw it away because he didn't just, like, if he was throwing it away, he would have just plopped it out 5 yards past the line of scrimmage. It's like he tried to get it there.
And so that's why I wanted to watch it back today, because I didn't know if there was like a safety that I didn't see that wasn't,
And there was not.
Yeah, exactly. Because sometimes it's So it's like if you float it up there, the safety's closing in on it. But no, that was not the
entire
case.
Field to work with.
And by the way, Saquon's a good body language guy. Like Saquon just did the like that. Like Saquon didn't do like
Shucks.
yeah. So Saquon didn't do that.
Yeah, it was kind of like the end of the game.
I mean, I don't know about the end of the game,
It
but
kind of was.
you in a situation when you don't have AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, you need to make plays when plays are there to be made.
Okay. Now the conceit for the show today, Zach, is the two of us have come up with 3 big picture questions here for each other. Some discussion topics, and I will start with you because I think you are of the two of us the more optimistic relative to the Eagles.
I like to say pragmatic, but okay.
I would say you're looking at things through midnight green colored glasses.
Oh, I disagree. I'm going to really push back on that, Bo. I don't like that characterization. But yeah, no, I think I'm not a sky is falling type person.
Okay, so let's start with this. Let's try to be nice. Let's try to not say that the sky is falling. So just very basically, what is the optimistic case that this team can turn into a Super Bowl contender?
Yeah, so the optimistic
because
case,
I don't want to. To me, the bar is not like, oh, this team could make the playoffs.
Sure,
like they could win. I think what is my big concern about the team right now? This team doesn't matter.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I think that there's a few ways that I could frame this. Yesterday was ugly, sure, right? When I say I'm not an alarmist, I do take umbrage to the midnight green colored glasses characterization, but I'm not an alarmist. I think sometimes there are bad games that you have, and as Jalen said, sometimes you have to flush them, right? And so what I try to separate is what is
the way that he said that whenever it was when you take you a deuce, what do you do?
Yeah, you flush it.
Funny.
Yeah. So I think what you have to do is you have to say, all right, what is isolated to this game?
Sure.
And what is a big picture problem, a global problem, if you will. And then you look at the circumstances that are at play. Frankly, if you had told me before the season that going into the bye, they would be missing AJ Brown for 3 games. Okay, they'd be missing Devontae Smith for a game and a half, or actually let's just say Devontae Smith and Lane Johnson for a game. Okay, that the Saints were 2-0 and leading the league in point differential when they went to play them, and you kind of went and that the Bucs were a better team than I expected. Right, I would say. Okay, yeah, I think 2-2 is a fine outcome there. Now, the way they got the 2-2 isn't good, and I really push back on this idea. You know, someone said to me, you know, really, if you think about it, they're a Saquon drop from being 3-1, and I'm like, yeah, they're also a 3rd and 16 conversion away from being 1-3, right? So you can't do that. They are, but I think 2-2, given some of the circumstances, 3 of these games were essentially on the road. I say essentially because the first game was a home game, but let's call it a road game for all intents and purposes, right?
Neutral site game.
Yeah. Thank you. Neutral site game. Okay. So 2-2. Okay. And then you look, their next 4 games are against teams with losing records. There are 10 teams in the NFL with losing records. The Eagles play 6 of those teams, including the Giants twice. All right. So I think there's a path here to get to double-digit wins. Like, I think that's reasonable. It's not unrealistic. They're going to get their best players. Like, with the injuries we're talking about are not season-ending injuries. I'm expecting AJ Brown, Lane Johnson back after the bye. We'll see about Devontae Smith. I haven't spoken to Devontae. I don't know the nature of Devontae's concussion.
I mean, it would be pretty concerning if a concussion keeps him out for 3 weeks.
But yeah. So let's say these guys are back. There was a school of thought that some of the scheme adjustments would take a little bit of time.
Sure.
I think that's an excuse, but I think you can make that argument to me. So I don't think the sky is falling on this team. I think there are ways the parts of how they're playing are major concerns to me. And I say, all right, this might be hard to fix, but I think the circumstances are in place for this team to still be a double-digit win team. And if you're a double-digit win team, then you can make noise in the playoffs. Plus, the best team in the NFC right now is Minnesota. Now, it's 4 games. I get it. But, look, San Francisco has warts. Los Angeles is 1-3. Green Bay's 2-2. Detroit's 2-1. We'll see what they do in their next game here. But I look at this like you don't have the Chiefs in your way here, right? And if you look around the NFL right now, a lot of these Super Bowl contenders are in similar spots to where the Eagles are, right?
I don't know. I mean, right now they have one of the worst defenses in football.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the hope that they're going to get?
Well, that's
mediocre.
Well, so
right? Like,
when we talk about reasons for concern, pass rushes.
Well, let's split this up. Let's talk about the defense. I think there is hope that the defense can be better because they can't be much worse. As long as they're playing a 21st century offense, they've been awful. So I think maybe Cooper DeJean playing nickel is going to change things somewhat. Maybe it's just the Vic Fangio scheme takes some time. I don't know why that would be the case. And certainly the game plan yesterday did not make a lot of sense, just letting Baker Mayfield get rid of the ball as quickly as he did. But there is some talent on defense, and there's a reason to hope that they can get to like below average. Like that would be nice. And then on offense, yeah, sure. If they get A.J. Brown back, the hope is that it's just the power of A.J. Brown. He's the best player on the team, and when he's healthy, he completely changes the offense. But I think the underlying things of like maybe Kellen Moore is not really giving them any kind of schematic advantage, which was laid bare yesterday. Jalen is not playing at a high level, and if he can only play well with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, that's not great either.
Except if he's playing with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, right?
I guess.
Yeah, I mean it's if he plays great with if he can play great with AJ and Devontae, the team is built to have AJ and Devontae. It's not built to have $25 million on the injured list, right? So, or in this case, yesterday, $55 million on the injured list. So I think there's major concerns. I was answering the framing of your question, which is the optimistic case. I see in the chat, the forest for the trees conversation. I just don't. I don't think you ever pick your head up in week 4 and say, this is how it is. So much evolves, so much changes. I mean, I covered a Giants team that was 5-5 and went on to win the Super Bowl, right? We've seen throughout Eagles history we've seen times when it's gone bad, when it's gone from bad to worse. But there would be times when, it's a week-to-week league. And I say it, every week's a season. And I think the conversation we're having now is different than the conversation we would have had a week ago. And it's different. It might be different than the conversation we would have the Monday after the Browns game. So that's why I try to kind of gather as much information as I can before I make like the type of evaluation that they're not a Super Bowl team. And I think it's premature to say that right now.
If you had to bet the book sales of the franchise.
Yeah.
The
sales or the
advance?
advance?
The sales.
Okay.
Yeah, you've already got the advance. You've already pocketed the advance. If you had to bet the sales on the Eagles either miss the playoffs or make the NFC Championship game, what would you say?
I think they're more likely to miss the playoffs than make the NFC Championship game.
I agree.
I mean, well, first off, statistically, that's the case, right? But I think in terms of the way they're playing, they're much more apt to not make the playoffs. I mean, to be one of the last 4 teams standing. Yeah, I mean, I see.
Okay.
I'm looking at the chat. Jason's. I feel like Darius Slay right here, right? I want to give my my career resume here. Jason
Pennsylvania Sports Writer of the Year.
Holy crap, CB! This is 2 seasons of this crap, right? And he didn't say crap. Look,
I do think that there is like expecting them to look like the 2022 version of themselves.
Yeah,
it's hope for hope's sake.
Yeah, I don't get high after wins. I don't get low after losses. I try to stay right here.
Okay. Yeah, and I think they've been down here for most of the past like 10 games.
Yeah, I mean, I separate last season from this season, but I thought I didn't think the Packers game was as great as it may seem. I thought last week there were problems with the offense for sure. When I say last week, the Saints game, it's not even October. It's September 30th here. I'm not. They're 2-2 on September 30th, and I just think it's premature.
All right. Well, let's get to the rest of our questions in a minute. But before we do that, let's talk about our friends at Rocket Money. I actually saved myself a little bit of money on Rocket Money over the weekend. I didn't realize I was still on a Stars subscription. I think I did it for watching the Party Down season.
That's been a long time.
It's been a long time.
Seriously, they've been taking your money, man.
So that's like, that was like $70 probably that I lost by not realizing that I was still signed up for Stars. So thank you to Rocket Money for alerting me to that. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. See all of your subscriptions in one place and know exactly where your money is going. And for any reason, if you don't want it anymore, Rocket Money will help you cancel those subscriptions with just a few taps. You can get alerts if bills increase in price and there's unusual spending activity, or if you're going over your budget. Rocket Money will help you out. It's like having a personal finance assistant. It's just Rocket Money. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 when using all of the app's features. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/PHLY. That's rocketmoney.com/PHLY. rocketmoney.com/PHLY.
I was listening to the post-game show on my way back from the airport, and I kept thinking, Vinny, I love you, Vinny, but we need to get you to Rite Aid, okay?
That's what you kept thinking?
Yeah, because he sounded like he was sick. And the great thing about Rite Aid is their pharmacy services, where with a My Pharmacy account at Rite Aid, you can refill your prescription, schedule a vaccine, get personalized care recommendations, sign up for prescription notifications, and all you need to get started is a prescription at Rite Aid. Get started at riteaid.com/mypharmacy. Stop stressing about your prescriptions. Let Rite Aid refill them automatically. Enroll in automated courtesy refills. It's free, easy, and most prescriptions qualify. Talk with your Rite Aid pharmacist or sign up through your My Pharmacy account at riteaid.com. You can manage the prescriptions with the Rite Aid mobile app, and you can get your prescriptions at the same time with a one-trip refill. So if there's other family members who need the prescriptions as well, you can sync it all together at once. Just speak to your local Rite Aid pharmacist. Transfer your prescriptions to Rite Aid today. Just go to riteaid.com/transfer. Rite Aid caring pharmacists are ready to answer your questions and help you stay healthy. Get your prescriptions along with anything at Rite Aid you may need, including over-the-counter medicines, household products, cosmetics, and more. Just ask your pharmacy team for details. Restrictions apply.
All right, what's your first question for me, my friend?
My first question for you is, let me pull this up here. You're Nick Sirianni, okay?
Okay.
You're sitting in the driver's seat.
He's in the passenger seat, supposedly.
How do you go about trying to fix this during the bye week? So I'm Jeffrey Lurie, and I come to you, and I say, Nick, I'm not firing you, but you need to fix this, okay? What's your plan during these next 2 weeks?
Get a time machine and tell Jeffrey to fire me back in January.
Well, that is not working.
I mean, I think on offense, you have to hope that it's just like the power of A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith getting healthy. It doesn't seem, and I know people are saying this in the chat, like we're seeing like the Kellen Moore offense that people expected, other than week one. It has not looked like those expectations. The problem is if I'm Nick Sirianni, I'm fixing things. I don't have a say in any of the schematics, right? So what I'm probably doing is I'm taking the conversation that Howie and I had talking past each other at the combine each of the past several off seasons, and it's like, okay, we're going to actually play the young guys. So like, let's put Cooper DeJean on the field instead of Avonte Maddox, and hope that makes us look better in December. Maybe I'm talking to Jahan Dotson and be like, this is what a wide receiver does, because right now he's been the least productive wide receiver in the NFL by a long shot. The problem with the framing of this question, not that it's a bad question, it's just we don't know what he does. So like,
he's the head coach of the football team.
He's the head coach of the football team, but so it's all about relationships, right? What's he doing during the bye week? I don't know. Going to Cabo with Jalen Hurts? Probably not.
So do you think there's a Hurts-Sirianni dynamic that Lurie should be worried about right now?
Absolutely. I mean, tell us what Jalen said yesterday in the post-game press conference when he was asked about like a conversation that he and Nick have about the identity.
Yeah. So he was asked, do you and Jalen discuss this? I'm sorry, do you and Nick like discuss this and
It's a
like the
wild
best plan
answer.
forward? And he said, we have our moments, which is like an odd, which is not an answer.
And as you like to say, nothing with Jalen is unintentional.
Yeah, exactly.
Every single time he is given like the softest softball to talk about him and Nick's relationship, he just completely shuts it down.
I'm gonna say, like, I'm not a relationship counselor, okay? But if you were ever talking, if someone ever asks you about your relationship and your answer is we have our moments, it's probably a fragile relationship. There is no context. Football, marriage, fatherhood, friendship, when you say we have our moments, and it's like, all right, you're good, right? Like, seriously, like, you know, if your buddy, you know, is in a, you know, you say,
I'm thinking about proposing.
Yeah.
How are things going?
Yeah, we have our moments. So, you know, it's like, it's like, how's your new boss? We have our moments, right? Like, there's no situation where we have our moments is a good answer.
That's true.
So I don't know what Jalen was thinking there, and I don't know if he thought it was gonna be like a good soundbite, but yeah, that's an odd one.
But of course, now I don't think Jeffrey's newly worried about it. I don't think any of this is news to Jeffrey,
this is on his
right?
radar,
This is part of the decision making they made in the offseason. And I do think that the first 4 games of the season have been a repudiation of the theory behind like everything they did from an organizational standpoint this offseason, right? Like, okay, we're going to keep Nick. We're going to install these adults as coordinators on either side of the ball. We're going to let Nick focus on the relationships. And the way that they built that, it has turned out like they cannot be surprised by the fact that every single week becomes a Nick Sirianni conversation. What is he doing here? Should he be fired? Like, every game is about that. That's not a surprise. And then in terms of getting what they thought they were getting with these experienced coordinators, the Fangio experience has not been good so far. And they sort of like traded in some of their organizational tenets in order to bring him in. Like, Jalen Carter's playing almost 80% of the snaps. It's not looking good. And he can't adjust to Baker Mayfield throwing the ball quickly. Defense has been very bad. And on offense, they're not doing anything special. They're not doing anything interesting. Like, you had a whole week to prepare for not having A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. I didn't see anything fun schemed up, right? So that's not looking good. And the relationship between Nick and Jalen is not getting any better. Like, Jalen is still being incredibly passive-aggressive.
Yeah, so I made a comment to someone yesterday after Nick's press conference, because Nick had three different questions, and I asked one of them about like Jalen Hurts making this fumble, committing this fumble, and every time he consistently absolves Jalen, and I got to think this is almost like whether it's intentional or it's a directive to him.
Yeah,
it's like let's not let's be careful with Jalen. But
and what happened to he likes to be coached hard?
Yeah, exactly. And what happened to accountability is the third core value, right? Yeah. Connect, compete, accountability.
Yeah.
So unless that order got changed during the offseason, nonetheless, I think if you want, and look, I'll say this about Nick, if you want to stick your chest out about accountability, it's not just behind the scenes. In this job, there's also public accountability. And when I know that so you mentioned this Sirianni conversation that happens every week. The Eagles explain that away of, Philly, it's so tough. You hear national media saying that the Sirianni press conferences, it's like a war zone interview, I think was the expression I heard today. I'm at all these press conferences. Nick's not getting it that bad right now, right? Number one. And number two, like I think the organization's message is Philly's just it's so tough. This just comes with it. I don't even think that I don't think that's what it is. And I don't think you need to like scold your quarterback all the time. But if he throws an interception, hold him accountable. Like, he's a grown man. He's the franchise quarterback. You shouldn't need to tippy toe around him. And the reason my antenna's up on that is because that started to happen with Carson, where they were very worried because they were worried about the Carson psyche. And it's like, and so having lived through the Carson thing, I don't think you should be tiptoeing around your quarterback. And I think that Nick, I find, has been like really pushing the Jalen. He's been laying it thick.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to skip ahead to what was my number 3 question, because I think this is the right time to do it. If we accept the premise for this question is Jalen is plateauing at best, right? If not getting a little bit worse. If that is the case, and Jalen is going the way of Carson is a stretch, right? But if he is not taking that leap, and if he's not a top 10 quarterback, and he's not making the people around him better, what do you think it is about this organization that makes it seem like the case that they can have these meteoric rises and then things just sort of filter out, and the relationships organizationally with the quarterbacks become strained?
Yeah, it's a good question. So there are 2 ways of answering this. First off, one thing you can say is that their philosophy is to set the market as opposed to chasing the market. So they were quick on the Jalen deal. They were quick on the Carson deal, right? After they gave both those guys contracts before, like right when they were allowed to, basically. And they also believe very much in empowering the quarterback. And you've seen that. I think there was some talk about not necessarily doing that with like Carson was very much empowered, but that could be one of the answers. I think kind of another answer here is that like you look around the NFL right now, this is happening with quarterbacks. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is really struggling, right? I mean,
Fran was making this point after the show yesterday. Yeah. Like every fan base is upset with their quarterback.
Exactly.
Right now. The Bengals fans are mad at Joe Burrow.
Yeah. I mean, I just look at, like the top quarterback in the league right now, Sam Darnold, right? If you like Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, Baker Mayfield are like the top performing quarterbacks right now, right? Now Mahomes has no one and they're winning, but when I say no one, Hollywood Brown hasn't played. He lost Rashee Rice yesterday. Isaiah Pacheco. But there are a lot of highly paid quarterbacks who are not having those prolific seasons. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is really struggling. Justin Herbert hasn't been like outstanding this year. Kyler's been hot and cold a bit. And you can go on down the list. Stafford hasn't been that great this year. So I think that there's a conversation overall about how quarterbacks are functioning in the NFL right now. And that's probably one way they could rationalize it or explain it away. But the question you asked, I asked Howie Roseman after they traded Carson. The first question is, what would you learn the next time you have a franchise quarterback? And Howie's answer is that he hopes that like quarterbacks always feel like they have the relationship with the front office. So he kind of disagreed with the premise of the question. And I also don't want to look, Carson, Jalen is turning the ball over at too high a clip right now. This is not like 2020 Carson. 2020 Carson was horrendous, and this is not horrendous.
Oh yeah, I mean he's certainly a much better player.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't want to overreact to that.
Yeah, and it's not. He's not a horror show.
Yeah,
but he is,
and he's not injury prone right now either.
Well, that's true. But I mean, the turnover numbers are insane. He leads. I think he's second in interceptions since the start of last season to Sam Howell, and he has the most fumbles in the league. So if you take, it's not even just fumble luck, just total fumbles, and he leads the league in turnovers. Like that's not good.
But I do think it is the point.
I think the relationship thing is actually like the thing that is more likely to be structural and an actual
interesting
rooted problem in the organization. And I don't know if it is because it is in a post-Chip Kelly world, a GM-centric organization and a player-centric organization, like a player empowerment organization, where the head coach is not the most important, is the least important part of those three parts of the triangle, right? And so that makes it so that the quarterback has more power, and the player dynamic is weird. I mean, it was the Carson Doug thing was not great either, right?
Yeah.
So
at the end,
I wonder if that is part of it.
But we shouldn't be on here so many times saying Jalen, just say one nice thing about your coach, because, like, you know,
We gotta get Ken Bone to ask Jalen a press
like,
conference question. Like, can you say something nice about Nick?
I can hear people saying you guys make too much of this coach quarterback dynamic. Like, Jalen, he gets these layup questions,
Yeah,
and
crazy.
he turns it into,
he's doing it on purpose.
Yeah, it's like I'll use the analogy I used at the last day of minicamp. It's like you get a layup question and you take the ball and you run to half court and you throw it over your head. Like, there's no need to do it like that.
All right, what do you got?
My next question for you, Bo, is turkeys of concern. Okay.
Okay.
1, coaching. 2, quarterback. 3, overall roster.
Now, am I Jeffrey or am I?
You're Bo.
Me.
You're Bo. You're best at being Bo.
So I am not particularly concerned about the coaching because I'm sort of writing off the coaching. Like,
and that includes the coordinators, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Big picture, I'm probably most concerned about the quarterback.
Okay.
Because, like, they can replace the coaches. Howie can bounce back from what we will get to was looking like a pretty bad offseason. But, you know, we've seen him ride these waves before. I don't know what they're going to do if Jalen is not good enough. So that's probably like big picture. I'd put like 50 turkeys on the quarterback. I would probably put let's say 35 on the coaches and 15 on roster construction. Now, I do think that roster construction, you know what, actually, let me flip that, because I think big picture, the roster is actually a pretty big concern. The coaches they can fix. So I'm going to go like 5 on the coaches and 45 on the roster. I do believe that they can, like, the life cycle of an NFL roster is pretty short, so that they can eventually turn this around quickly. But I do think that there are real problems about the roster, specifically the defensive line, and the pass rush is not good enough given the investment there. And you know, you've got, like, who are the guys who are going to be, you're sure going to be on this team next year and they're going to be really, really good? The 2 wide receivers.
I think Lane's playing next year.
Quinyon Mitchell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe Lane.
I mean, the 4 to 5
Landon Dickerson
offense.
and Jordan Mailata you're expecting, and Cam
Jurgens
Jurgens should be good.
And Jalen Carter.
But Jalen Carter's, he's played one good game.
Yeah, but he'll be on the team. And
he'll be on the team.
So,
yeah. But
yeah, that's fair.
I don't know. How about you? How would you answer it?
Well, I just want to say,
in the myopia of this season, yes, I think the coaching is a real problem.
Your friend Noah Becker had a tweet that made me laugh, where it was he said, you know, the stories come out after the season about how Nick Sirianni really loved Jahan Dotson and was pushing for that trade.
That was a response to my tweet about Jahan Dotson.
Oh yeah, exactly, yeah, and you can definitely see that. Like, that's the
but I think that is no way that's true. Like, they didn't make that trade because Nick liked Jahan Dotson.
No, but
I know, but
the framing of it,
they'll try to blame it on him, but that was absolutely a Howie move.
It's like the front office loved Justin Jefferson, but those coaches made us take Jalen Reagor, right? Yeah, I hear it. No, it's not at that scale. So I look at this as kind of like the responsibility for the season and then the big picture concern. You're right. Everything kind of goes back to the quarterback. But for this season, I'm putting the coaching. I'm putting the coaching higher for this season, because one of the things that is a major concern for me right now is they just look unsound and unprepared for games. Like, they get penalized at too high of a rate. They make these foolish mistakes. You know, we mentioned the Isaiah Rodgers play on the show yesterday, and an extremely funny play. Yeah. Now, you know, do you coach it? I mean, do you need Michael Clay to say in a meeting, like, don't push?
Yeah, I do.
So I find it
hard to
exactly.
Be like, exactly.
But if you look at that as like symptomatic of a bigger issue, which is they're an undisciplined team.
They're a dumb team.
Yeah. There were multiple 3rd and longs yesterday, which were extended by penalties. Yeah. And like, I asked Avonte Maddox about the defensive holding one, and he thought he was
already sacked or what?
He pushed back on. He thought it was like a bad call. Now he kind of questioned the call, but then he's like, but there was another flag on the play for offsides, but it didn't matter. Yes, it does matter because it wouldn't have been an automatic first down. Like the offsides, it would have been what, 3rd and 8 at that point, or third. Yeah, so it's like, no, it doesn't. But there's I think there's a lot of just
that's pretty funny.
They're not I'll get on Nick here. If you want to recite your core values so much, and one of the core values is, or let's say 2 of the core values are fundamentals and football intelligence. Yeah. Right? And you don't tackle well, and you make boneheaded plays, then you're not adhering to the core values.
You've lost the turnover battle in 12 straight games.
Yeah. So let's look at right now. Right now, the core values that we're violating.
And penalties, yeah.
Yeah, that Eagles violating is
accountability, not so great.
Yeah.
Football intelligence, not so great. Fundamentals, not so great.
Yeah. So then you have connect and compete. Yeah.
Compete. I mean, they barely showed up yesterday.
Yeah. So
so you got connect.
Yes.
They're all happy in the locker room after the game, so
exactly.
That's good.
Yeah.
You get 1 out of 5.
So that's concerning to me. So that's why I put more on the coaching because we talk about things like situational football. I don't think there's that sound in situational
They've been
football.
bad at this for long enough that it
and it's not just the decisions that you make, like penalties on 3rd down. That's situational football. Jalen Hurts' interception against the Falcons. That's situational football. I would even say his fumble yesterday. Like, I get your point, or I get Nick's point rather, that the strip sack is not always on the quarterback. Yeah. But you need to. It's a 2 touchdown. It's a 2-score game. Okay, you're driving. You're on the 20-yard line there.
They're finally in the game.
You're
again.
in the 20-yard line there. What you can take a sack, right? It's first down. It's 1st and 10. You can take a sack. What you can't do is turn the ball over. So the way that they're not adhering to any of these core values, really, except connect.
It's a good point.
Right? I mean, the plane rides must be fun. Yeah. That's the extent of it right now.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. They've been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
That it's hard to believe anything other than that. Yeah. No, tough. The floor is pretty low for the Eagles right now.
Good transition.
Just like it is with our friends at Empire Today. With Empire Today, you get shop at home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and that price match guarantee. Empire Today is the best place to get new flooring. So, of course, they've got copycats. But those copycats can't beat Empire Today when it comes to quality, service, speed, the things that matter. So what they're going to do, they're going to try to undercut. They're going to advertise low-quality products that the good folks at Empire Today simply won't carry. Empire Today will not promise the lowest prices because anyone who does that is putting flooring in your home that they wouldn't put in theirs. At Empire Today, they keep shopping for floors simple with a curated product selection. Their philosophy is to help you find what you need, not overwhelm you with thousands of choices and substitutes. What they leave out of their selection is just as important as what they put in. It's like putting together a game plan, Zach. Empire's product team exhaustively combs through thousands of product samples each year to find the perfect style. So if you are looking for new flooring, Empire Today has the PHLY stamp of approval. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use the promo code PHLY. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/PHLY for details.
Bo, fixing a football team might not be easy. Fixing a home, it's easier when you have Ace Hardware Home Services. If you have a leaky pipe at Ace Hardware Home Services, they're around the block with everything you need to fix it, including the person doing the fixing. It's like they're Nick Sirianni or Howie Roseman or Jeffrey Lurie all rolled into one. If you have an air conditioning issue, they have a person for that. It's like they're Big Dom. If you have a faucet that you say you'd fixed last fall, they have a person for that too, because they're not just the helpful hardware folks. They're also the helpful home service and repair folks. Doesn't have the same ring, but has the same effect. From plumbing to heating and cooling, we've got the trusted pros to keep your home humming all year long. Ace Hardware Home Services. We're bringing helpful home, the helpful you love, from the store now to your front door. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at www.acehardwarehomeservices.com to get you started on your next project.
All right, Zach, let's talk about Howie Roseman's offseason.
Ooh, let's do it.
Okay.
Howie's going to love this portion of the show.
We've got 4 games of information now. I want you to regrade what Howie did in the offseason, okay? It brings back Alberto on a one-year deal. Re-signs BG.
He beat the market on Alberto. So, yeah.
Quick to get that one done. Extensions for Landon Dickerson, Jordan Mailata, Jake Elliott, Devontae Smith, and A.J. Brown, locking up those guys.
All good moves.
Maybe. Saquon
Especially
Barkley.
the Lovato one.
Saquon Barkley signs to a 3-year, $38 million deal with $26 million guaranteed. Essentially a 2-year deal. Bryce Huff jumps on Bryce Huff for 3 years, $51 million, $34 million guaranteed. Bryce Huff has a tackle so far this year. Zach Bond.
A tackle, right?
A tackle.
Okay, A-tackle.
One solo tackle, one assisted tackle.
Oh, okay.
So 2 total.
Don't leave out the assistant.
Zach Bond signs to a 1-year, $3.5 million deal. CJ Gardner-Johnson, 3 for $27, $10 million guaranteed. Your boy Devontae Parker threw a bag at him. Kenny Pickett, trades for Kenny Pickett, the equivalent of a late 3rd, early 4th round pick. Devin White signs for 1 year, $4 million, $3.5 million guaranteed. And then you've got Oren Burks, Avonte Maddox comes back. The Josh Sweat restructure keeps James Bradbury around. Trades Hassan Reddick for a 2026 conditional 3rd that could turn into whatever it is. And he lets, DeAndre Swift and Kevin Byard go. Yes. Then there's the draft, which we can also talk about. Quinyon Mitchell, early returns are good on the 1st round pick. Cobra DeJean can't get on the field. Jalix Hunt played some defensive snaps yesterday. Will Shipley, very funny, plays the first snap of the game. They got a big package for Will Shipley, on 21 personnel, play 1, doesn't see the field again the rest of the game. And then he cuts the best player on the team, Dylan McMahon.
So the caveat for all of this, of course, is that they're 4 games into the season, right? The Detroit Tigers look different a quarter of the way through. The New York Mets look different a quarter of the way through. The Minnesota Twins look different a quarter of the way through, right? So you have to acknowledge that. But the early returns on some of the big ticket signings, or the ones that you thought would be most impactful, are not great right now. And in particular, Bryce Huff, because I know Saquon was the marquee signing.
I also didn't add the Jahan Dotson trade.
Yes, which we'll get to as well. Bryce Huff was the big signing. And I said on the show yesterday, the big issue right now they have, from my perspective on defense, is the lack of a pass rush. And Bryce Huff was signed to be their top pass rusher. By the way, if you're hoping that the Eagles reacquire Hassan Reddick, that can't happen per NFL rules. Ian Rappaport from the NFL Network
seems like a weird
put this
rule.
out. Yeah, you need to wait 2 years to do it. Now, the player's allowed to be cut and you're allowed to bring him back, but you can't trade a player then trade back for him.
This seems like a bad rule.
It's like they've never been in a fantasy football league before, right? But yeah, Bryce Huff is.
Did you see Baldy's video on Twitter about how Bryce Huff last year, his power, his effectiveness comes in part with a 4-point stance, and he's being asked to rush out of a 2-point stance this year, and it's not looking very good.
That's all part of the free agent process, right? Yeah. You're projecting. I mean, Howie once said something to me that the big challenge in football is that the third baseman for the Yankees can play third base for the Phillies, but the defensive, the pass rusher for the Jets can't necessarily go to become the pass rusher for the Eagles. Like there's more scheme and technique that are put into this. And the Bryce Huff signing so far looks like a disaster. Looks like a disaster in terms of the results they're getting from him, but also the opportunity cost. You had $17 million. And look, let's take away your Brian Burnses of the world, your $25, $30 million. Jonathan Grenard, who signed for $19 million a year, he's having a good year so far in Minnesota. I think 4 sacks, I think, through the first 4 games. That's the best defense, or it's one of the best defenses in the NFL right now. He's someone who in our quackatology
can set an edge.
What's that?
Can play against the run.
Yeah, sitting in this room talking about free agents. Yeah, he's someone you really liked, and he was coming off a productive year, and he had starting experience.
Yep.
There are other edge rushers we can kind of get into, but Bryce Huff was someone that they clearly identified and targeted, and it has not worked out. And whether Vic Fangio wasn't totally on board, or whether they saw in the summer, and I know a counter that I might hear behind the scenes is that, well, Hassan Reddick didn't look like Hassan Reddick early on during his time there. I thought Hassan Reddick, even though he wasn't getting sacks, he was like making productive plays. Bryce Huff isn't even making productive plays. We've gone through Devin White. That's clearly a miss. Now, Saquon Barkley, I give them credit there. Saquon's been one of the best players in football. Frankly, Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry have been two of the most consequential free agent signings in the NFL this offseason. And so maybe it makes teams reevaluate the running back market, at least on the high end. But those guys have been really good. He did good. Howie did a good job finding Becton and Bond.
I forgot about Becton.
Yeah, Becton and Bond there. But C.J. Gardner-Johnson and
C.J. Gardner-Johnson has been bad.
Yeah, we're gonna have Fran on tomorrow, and Fran will go through the tape of what he sees. But when you talk about missed tackles, some of it's coming from C.J. Now he's made some impactful plays. You think about the 4th down against the Falcons.
Yes.
But for like the baseline responsibility of being a safety, which is like being the safety
providing
net there,
some safety,
providing some safety, he has not done that well, or not done that nearly well enough. The draft, I kind of look more long term, right? You can't evaluate that for another few years.
No, but I think it is fair to say that the early returns on Quinyon are good, and that's the most important part.
The Dotson trade is a major concern here because you traded a 3rd round pick, right? Not what's like you traded a 3rd round pick for a guy who's a starter for you, 3rd wide receiver, starter for you. And also part of the rationale was if AJ or Devontae go down, you have a starting level player. Well, AJ and Devontae have gone down. There was a point in yesterday's game when John Ross had more targets on his first 3 plays of the game. This was in the 4th quarter. First 3 plays of the game, then Jahan Dotson had at the whole game to that point. So that has been problematic. And
Olamide Zaccheaus had more receiving yards and catches yesterday than Jahan Dotson has all season long.
Yeah. And so
he's playing a lot.
It's no shortage of opportunity. Exactly. And you can't tell me, like, you can't just tell me that, well, they acquired him late. He didn't have to have a training camp. This is part of the calculus that you use, number one.
Right.
And like the opportunity is there for him. Do you know the last Eagles player to score a touchdown in the first quarter of a game?
I don't know. Jack Stoll?
No. Come on.
Oh, nice.
Julio Jones.
I know you wish you could. I know you wish you could.
Julio Jones. And I bring that up because like you can sign guys off the street and get like the production you're getting from Jahan Dotson right now.
Well, I tweeted it last night. Yeah. They're over the last decade, okay, the last 10 NFL seasons, there have been 679 wide receivers who have run at least 100 routes over the first 4 games of the season. In terms of yards per route run, Jahan Dotson is 678th of 679. That's the production they're getting. That's what they traded a 3rd round pick for.
Yeah. And
now,
again,
some of that, I do believe that some of that is on Jalen Hurts. And there is a thing about Jalen Hurts where he just does not like throwing to the guys who are not his top options. I think some of it is on the coaches, and absolutely some of it, and probably most of it, is on the front office for making this acquisition. Like, you know what? And so when you look at the offseason as a whole, even though Saquon looks great, and Saquon has been arguably and probably the best player on the team, are they getting their money's worth from Saquon? Because he has been awesome, but they're not leaning into him on offense enough. And you talk about the opportunity cost. If they had spent $6 million on a running back, would they have signed Grenard instead of Huff and Noah Brown or whoever else, and somebody else? And would that have been a better use of resources? Maybe.
I mean, Saquon's moving the needle for me. So
and also to be fair, the Saquon, like it works if he has 2 years like this.
True. That's true.
Right.
And yeah, time is an ally for everything here. And we will have a better idea on Dotson as time goes on. We'll have a better idea of Saquon as time goes on. But we can only operate with the information we have right now. And Dotson has been a major disappointment, especially when you consider the price they pay. And by the way, I don't want to say I was sold a bill of goods because it is a legitimate thing, but I kept hearing on the record and behind the scenes how valuable that 3rd round pick was. And next year's draft is going to be loaded. It's like 2 classes in one, right? And they're really going to hold that 3rd round pick. And you were right all along. You're like, they're going to use this 3rd round pick to upgrade the roster, and they did it before the season. That 3rd round pick is a real valuable piece. And we'll see how Dotson materializes here.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Jahan Dotson wishes he could be Quez Watkins. That's in terms of production. That's what the Eagles are getting.
When you frame it that way, yeah. I mean, Quez, yeah.
And the Huff thing, I mean, it is borderline shocking because you actually look at Howie Roseman's track record. The one place where he has really consistently been better than the league has been big ticket free agency. Because
Absolutely.
usually the league does very poorly at that. And his track record there is outstanding.
Yes.
And so to completely whiff, which is what it looks like right now, what they've done on Bryce Huff, I mean, it's debilitating for them.
Yes. And it was a day one target. It wasn't the type of thing, you know, Howie always says that a big part of free agency is like not just spending because you have the money, you know, like the DeMarco Murray thing happened because that wasn't their day one plan. It was, you know, this was when Howie wasn't in charge, but DeMarco was kind of lingering. They had money left over, and it's like, all right, let's go here. Howie tries to make informed bets, and so the day one guys, that's their plan going into it. That's what they spent a month and a half preparing, actually longer than that, typically preparing for that. And so for it to see it materialize the way it has through 4 games, I think you hit it on the head. It's got to be vexing Howie in a considerable way.
All right, what's your last question?
My last question for you, Bo, is, and this is one that you would say is very typical of me. Okay. So maybe this is on brand, but is there any chance we're overreacting? And what I mean is 2-2, like I framed it before, that might be a decent outcome given the circumstances of the season. That I landed from Tampa early this morning, and I looked up, and the sky was still there. Right?
You love that.
I love that. And I saw the skyline.
The sky from right over there.
And the sky, I saw the skyline, and the buildings were not burning. Like the city was still upright. And you know what? When the Eagles get back from their bye week, they will play a game against the Cleveland Browns team that might be in worse shape than the Eagles. Right? They're 1-3 right now, and their quarterback is. I mean, we don't have enough time to go through all the issues their quarterback has.
Worst quarterback in the league.
So my point is this, is that yesterday was bad. And I say all the time, it's a week-to-week league. Every week's a season. When I landed this time a week ago from New Orleans, it was that I was afraid I was going to run into traffic on that parade going down Broad Street, right? So my point is there a chance we're overreacting right now?
Well, of course there's a chance. That's also our job.
Well, no, our job is to react, not overreact.
Yes, of course.
At least we all view it a little differently. Yeah.
I think the chance and the hope is that it's just AJ Brown. Like,
yes.
If you are really optimistic, you are just thinking we have a guy who is perhaps the best wide receiver in football, and his power alone is going to drag this offense to top 5 levels. And combined with Saquon Barkley, they could be super explosive. This is a team that is built around its stars, around its players, and so if they don't have those guys, they're not going to look very good. And if they get those guys back on offense, they can be great. But what I said before, I think is what I believe, is that I don't believe in the ceiling of this team to a significant level. I think they are a team right now that doesn't matter.
Okay. Oh, well, I disagree, but I
so please watch all 5 shows every week as we talk about a team.
Yeah, we're on.
That doesn't matter.
We're on actually 6 shows.
6 shows a week.
6 shows, including and that doesn't include 3 on Sundays that we have pre-game, halftime, and post-game. Right? There's a lot of season. There's a lot of season left. That's what I'm gonna say. There's a lot of season left. I don't want to do the I've done this for 13 years card. But there's you know, week 4 of the 2012 season, I think the Eagles were 3-1, and they finished that year 4-12, and they fired Andy Reid. Right?
That's exciting.
No, I'm saying in 2017, they were good. They were 3-1, but they had just gone to the Chargers and like run the ball down their throat.
That's the thing is that when I'm thinking about the Eagles teams that mattered.
Yeah.
You saw it early.
Yeah. Now last year they were 4-0.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true.
So yeah, I just think, look, maybe I see it in the chat. Maybe you say it's these midnight green cover glasses. No, I just think I try to be pragmatic, and I try to say, I try to operate.
Of course, there is a path to them being relevant.
Yeah.
Yes.
I go into every this is like a outside of the show, like a football thing, life thing. I go into every situation saying, what if I'm wrong? Like, what do I need to learn? What am I wrong? Or I'm sorry, what if I'm wrong? As opposed to I am right. All right. And so it tends to be like, I don't want to overreact because I could be wrong. Okay.
That's healthy.
Yeah.
So the two things always going on in your mind are, what if I'm wrong? And I'm going to live longer than that guy.
No, but you know, look, when you're low to the ground, you need all the rationalizations you can get. And one of them is life expectancy, right?
How was the weekend? How was the bachelor party weekend? Congratulations to Nick.
Well, yeah. I mean, his wedding's in a month, Cincinnati weekend. I don't think that's what his fiance is calling it. I don't think she's calling it Cincinnati
Probably
weekend.
Not, yeah.
But I'm calling it Cincinnati weekend. It was great. It was awesome spending time with Nick and my siblings. And my
I was
cousins.
thinking about this from your perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that you don't like to be away from your family.
Yeah.
But you like to be on the road. You like to be. I think you relish your road trips, right?
Yeah.
The being the traveling beat reporter.
Yeah.
I think I imagine that must have been kind of a treat to share that with your brothers.
I was getting crap from them, like about being on all the time, right? Like not like turning it off at all. They're like, wait, so you're like this even like a day before a game, right? I mean, we had a dinner reservation on Saturday night, and they were meeting for drinks before, and I was like, I'm going to be a few minutes late. I was taping a video for PHLY.com. I was writing, I was writing a story, like a quick thing on Lane being inactive, or I'm sorry, Lane.
Right.
No, that was AJ.
AJ was declared out.
Yeah. Last night, I met them for dinner, but I'm like, I gotta go. I gotta write. So they're like, they know I'm like this. Like,
yeah. How are they surprised by that?
Yeah, no, it's not surprised. It's just giving me crap for it. But yeah, they're like you. They make fun of my airplane. The black hat.
The generic Rob Lowe outfit. Yeah.
But no, it was awesome spending time with them, and I'm pumped for my brother, and I frankly hope that they can come on more road trips, because it was they were good. They were good company, but it made me, like, I always appreciate my job, right? Always, every day, every road trip, but appreciate it even more because like the scenes, like at the way they were describing it, of like fans at Raymond James Stadium with that heat, people were like passing out basically.
You don't appreciate the job because you get to go watch games. You appreciate it because you get to watch it from the cushy ivory tower of the press box.
I have it easy, and they're explaining to me, the fans watching this right now will understand them. Like, they're explaining to me what it was like getting an Uber or Lyft after getting the ride share after the game when everyone's flooding out at the same time. Like, I never have to deal with traffic in. I never have to deal with traffic out. I have all the hydration I need during the game. I'm in air conditioning. I have working internet. I have a really good. What?
Must be nice.
Yeah, I agree. So that's why I have no empathy for reporters who complain. Like, we have it pretty good at these games.
Well, what if you're complaining about the Eagles moving their media schedule around?
Well, I'm complaining more about, like, for the sake of the show. Like, I can't. The hardest part of this job, since I've taken it, the hardest part of this job is not being able to be at two places at once, right? And so that's been, we're on 13 months of this now, and
something tells me if you were able to be in two places at once, you'd be worried that you couldn't be three places at once.
Maybe so, but I want to do a really good show. I miss being in studio every day, right? But also I want to cover the team the best the best in the market, and it's hard to do that if you're missing press conferences or locker rooms. But you can't be two places at once.
All right, let's check out our super chats for this episode. Thanks everybody who put in one of those. From Brian Pumper. Good afternoon to everyone, but Nick Sirianni, Vic Fangio, and Jalen Hurts, the standard was not the standard, and rent was overdue. And then he follows up with, feel bad for Saquon. He left Danny Dimes for a team who employs the woke Danny Dimes. My God, this guy is hurting the team. I don't even know who that is supposed to be. Is that supposed to be Jalen?
Is Jalen the woke Danny
The
Dimes?
woke Danny Dimes? I mean, how woke is Jalen?
And it's Danny Dimes.
Yeah. Now, I do think we touched on it yesterday. There is sort of a funny irony in like the offensive cast that Saquon was around yesterday. Like he left the Giants, and all of a sudden he's with Paris Campbell and John Ross. Chris Kaufman Jr. The problem is the offense looks identical to 2023, and I don't think that is incorrect. I think I'm not seeing enough different offensive bones than I was expecting.
Yes, and then you say that last year was more on Jalen than it was on the coaching staff, I would say.
Or this is still Nick's offense.
This is still. I don't think it's that. That would surprise me. Knowing Jeffrey, that would surprise me.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I think it looks similar aside from the motion.
Because Jalen's touching the ball every play, right? And Jalen still has to make these decisions. And Jalen's, it's still the quarterback.
I'm not saying it's not the quarterback. I'm just saying like the way like the
and that's not a knock on Jalen because when Jalen's outstanding, like Jalen can we've seen Jalen time and time again overcome coaching in the past as well. It works both ways.
Okay. Chase Daniel Plainview, is Jalen turning the ball over because he wants Sirianni fired? If the head coach is someone Jalen likes, could we expect better ball security? That's an interesting theory. I kind of like that thesis.
He liked the OC last year, I think, but until the end, I don't know.
Yeah. And what do you make of Brian Johnson and Cliff Kingsbury, who the Eagles did interview? All of a sudden, that offense looks pretty good.
Yeah, and Anthony Lynn on that coaching staff, and Dan Quinn's doing a good job there. I mean
Anthony Lynn.
You're not an Anthony Lynn guy?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's one of the headlines for why they're being successful right now.
No, but I was referring to that Washington coaching staff.
Yeah, I understand what you're doing, but I'm trying to make this about the Eagles.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Like Cliff Kingsbury was a candidate there. There was a good story in the Washington Post, Sam Fortier, who now Sam's a friend, but I don't know if it's Fortier or Fortier.
I mean, how much of a friend could he be if you can't? If you don't know his last name?
I know I know how to spell it.
Yeah.
But as I'm saying it, I don't know if it's Fortier or Fortier. But
I think he's good enough that you could call him Sam 50er.
In any event, as Sam had a Kingsbury piece, and Cliff said in that piece, it was a good story, and Cliff said that the Bears and the Eagles were two teams he would have taken those jobs if he got offered them. Right. So I'm curious going into the Washington week, I'm going to do a little more reporting on kind of what happened there. Cause I do know that the Eagles, when they were looking for offenses for Hurts, one of the things that they liked was that, the Lincoln Riley offense that they had, that Jalen ran in. Now, by the way, you talk about that Lincoln Riley offense. The Eagles once tried to hire Graham Harrell.
I remember that. I was actually going to bring that up. Yeah.
He got fired by Purdue. Tough coaching
come
decision.
down. Yeah.
Maybe that's like sometimes, there's an expression. Sometimes the best decisions are the ones you don't make. Sometimes you got to understand that the jobs aren't always going to be there. You get offered an NFL offensive coordinator job, take it because you don't know if that's going to be around that often.
Yeah. That was tough.
Yeah.
Tough come down for Graham Harrell.
God, I hope Graham's not watching this right now.
I mean, I hope he is. He's got time on his hands.
True.
All right. Anything else you want to talk about from the game?
How was your weekend? I didn't get a chance to see you.
Weekend was good. Did the show yesterday. What did I do on Saturday? Man, it's like the movie on the plane that I watched on the way back from Brazil. I don't remember. Yeah.
You watched Alabama? You talked about that on the...
Oh, yeah. I did watch the end of that game. Yeah.
Okay. Ryan Williams, 17 years old. Did they mention that?
Yeah, it was a hell of a play.
Yeah, Devontae likes Ryan Williams. I asked Devontae when after Ryan Williams' first game, I was like, what were you doing at 17? Devontae answered it the most literal way possible. Not playing college football.
Okay.
I'm like, all right, yeah. You're right, Devontae. Yeah.
Okay. I think we just hung out in the city, yeah.
When's your apple picking weekend?
Oh, that's what we did.
Oh, you did the apple
that's
picking?
what we did.
Okay, all right. Okay.
That's right.
So you didn't hang out in the city. You can't go apple picking.
No, we went to
Princeton or Linvilla?
No, not Linvilla. Linvilla's way too crowded.
I mean, even on September 29th?
Yeah, we went to Highland.
Or September 28th? You went to Highland?
Highland Orchards, yeah.
Is that up
Good time. Westchester.
Oh, Westchester. Okay. All right.
Yeah, Linville is like it's like Disney World
it's convenient. It's the closest one.
It's overrun.
Oh, I mean, apples are apples. I
don't agree with that.
Is it a bad batch there? I mean, I think I might be
too crowded.
Yeah, I think I got Linville coming up.
Sorry,
I don't know. It's a bye weekend. Yeah, I think. I don't know. I can't use the college football excuse or anything like that. I did flag football on Friday night.
Yeah.
Finally I haven't seen Sloan play soccer yet. So this weekend I'll finally see Sloan play soccer. I'm excited for that.
How'd the football game go?
Went well. Reed ran for a touchdown and threw for a 2-point conversion.
Wow. Yeah. How about that?
Yeah. It was cool. Was
it the same? But was it a 2-point conversion on the touchdown? Was it an octopus?
Yeah. Is that why you get the 8? Is that why? It's
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but more importantly, he had fun. We had good conversation on the way. But he's got to work. So he's got to work on this. So he wears gloves. Okay, but he doesn't like to throw with gloves. He's not Kenny Pickett.
So he's giving it away.
Wait, so he ran. So they called a flea flicker. Okay, and he took off the glove.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So he gave it away, and then he put the glove into his into his pants. He tucked it into his pants.
Okay.
And then he ran for the touchdown, and the glove came out. And so I'm walking around the perimeter of the field looking for the glove, and I couldn't find it. I don't know where this glove ended up.
He lost the glove.
He lost the glove. Yeah.
Did you make him run laps? How do you make him make up for that?
No, I said, I said to him, I said, why'd you take it off in the first place? And he said, because he doesn't like to throw with the glove on. And I was like, but then everyone knows you're throwing. You got to either have the glove or not have the glove.
Okay.
But he had fun, and I enjoyed the car ride with him. That was
a lot of people in the chat standing for Salisbury Orchards. Never heard of it. In Bucks County.
Someone said, what's the inevitable quote that I say? It's more of I say what should happen eventually must happen immediately, or what must happen eventually should happen immediately is the quote, and that's from Jeremy Foley. Well, it's actually I think from Henry Kissinger.
So do you think that Jeffrey Lurie should fire Nick Sirianni then?
I don't, because I don't think that's like the thing that's going to happen. I don't think it's inevitable. Well, at some point he'll be fired, but I don't think this season. Yeah. I mean he might. Like, I don't think it's a foregone conclusion right now.
My point. I kind of think it is.
You know, there was a time when Charlie Manuel, it seemed like he was going to get fired, and then they turn their season around. You never know what could happen. Maybe that's those midnight green glasses. I don't think that's what it is. I just think, as Lou Lamoriello said, when time is on your side, use it. And right now, time. Let's see what happens with the time.
Okay. We'll be back tomorrow, 2:00. Fran Duffy going to tell us what the film said and what the Eagles can do to fix this thing, get it right. They're 2-2. They're getting A.J. Brown back. There's some hope, but might also be some cope.
And we also have 5 shows during the week and 3 shows on Sundays, and so let's keep this thing interesting.
All right, let's keep a little nudity. Never hurt anybody.
That's actually not true.
That's true. That's true, and it's too, Ben.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, that's not. That was one of the worst jokes I've ever made.
Yeah.
All right, that'll do
there's
it for,
competition for that.
Well, there's a lot of competition. That'll do it for this episode of the PHLY Eagles podcast. Thank you to Julia for making it happen. Make sure you like and subscribe on the video. All that good stuff. Tell your friends. We'll be back tomorrow at 2:00 for all of us here. We thank you for watching. And as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.